Okay, thank you very much for attending this webinar on building GPT apps on Salesforce. And over the next 45 minutes, we're going to cover a range of GPT AI apps, such as apps that do simple language translation, or what we call completions. We are going to play with some AI assistants, conversational AI, chatting with AI bots. We're going to play a little bit with File GPT, which is the interacting and chatting with images, PDFs, and documents. Great for some legal use cases, other document use cases. We're going to talk about customer facing chatbots and some of the impacts, how to build bots. Which products do I own? AI assistants that are aware and grounded on a lot of customer centric details. And we're going to talk about the use of orchestrating these flows using Salesforce flows and building prompt engineering on Salesforce flows. Okay, I thought I'd open with this quote. I think this best captures the current state of AI and GPT today in 2023. It's a quote from Bill Gates in his book, The Road Ahead, in 1995. He says, "We always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years, and we underestimate what will happen in the next 10." And that is exactly where we are at with AI and GPT. This is a technology that absolutely will be around in 10 years, but we don't exactly know what we are going to build and what's going to be produced from this. There's a lot of hype. We are entering into what Gartner would call the peak of inflated expectations. And over the next 2 years, we are going to see a lot of assumptions that we have today will kind of disappear. So there's a lot of hype around LLMs and large language models, and then over time we are going to start seeing AI introduced into everything, particularly anything that is text-based or symbolic. For example, chatting with documents will become pretty much de facto. At the consumer end of things, we're going to see AIs far in excess of Siri and Alexa capabilities today. Some quick disclosures. The solution makes use of OpenAI Enterprise AI. So this is not ChatGPT. This is the Enterprise API. We, Pacific Apps and iDialog, have received grants and credits from Microsoft Azure and OpenAI to develop GPT solutions. Any forward-looking or roadmap statements are based in part on OpenAI's and Microsoft's ability to deliver some stated features. And the application I'm presenting is iDialog, which can be found on the Salesforce App Exchange today. Some background. iDialog basically has a mission of one-to-one personalized conversations with customers. I've personally been in the Salesforce ecosystem over 15 plus years. Built the Salesforce teams at Facebook, did early personalization, one-to-one marketing and advertising. iDialog is an app in 2019 launched with a focus on document generation, rooms, landing pages. Each one of those pieces of content very one-to-one personalized to each customer. It was very on with machine learning and AI. The capabilities just weren't there yet for full chat, although we had some human-to-human chat capabilities. In 2020, we started adding more AI, document and image text extraction. We added e-signature. 2021, PII, personally identifiable information recognition, semantic analysis of documents in Salesforce. And then the big breakthroughs happened last year, 2022. We added GPT completions and file GPT and flow actions based on GPT-3. And now today, fast forward, we've added GPT AI assistants and chatbots We're building solutions on GPT-4 and looking ahead to 5 and some multimodal solutions. So many people on this call have a career in Salesforce and understandably are curious as to what are the future job and career possibilities with AI. And if I had to choose two job descriptions today or to build a team from the ground floor, I would get a really strong business analyst and I would get an AI flow developer. And those two would collaborate around prompts. So prompts are the new source code. Now, notice these job descriptions already exist today. There's nothing necessarily new about a business analyst. It's just that they will be writing the requirements and the results of their customer-facing requirements gathering will produce these prompts. And these are written in a way such as you're having a dialogue with a bot. You're telling this bot, you are going to act as an expert sales coach for Gen Y generators. In quote rules, validation rules, discounts, bundling, installation rules, approvals, all this information gets embedded in just a PDF. This is the source code. The AI understands this through what is called natural language understanding. I've even infused into this AI assistant a sales methodology called NEAT, acronym NEAT, such that every little word really counts and can influence the AI assistant's behavior. There is also notes in here where the business analyst is collaborating with the flow developer. And they're basically saying, look, the actual customer details go here, the quote details go here, itemize the products, primary contact goes here. So when a particular opportunity or case or any custom object is opened and an AI assistant conversation is started, this is the context they have. Types of GPT applications. GPT has been around for around 7 years, and it's not been until the last 1 or 2 years that the conversational applications have emerged. But for many years, for quite a while, they were just really good at one-way completions, non-chat type use cases. And now they've evolved there's GPT training, flow orchestration, chat applications, file applications. I'm going to talk a bit about Apex GPT, and if time allows, we'll get into vector databases and semantic search. And this has created a whole new stack, the GPT application stack, very similar to what a Salesforce developer might be familiar with. They use MVC or Model View Controller. GPT's model is based on millions of training sources, text and images, and then that has been brought into a large language model. And transactionally, there is some prediction against those models using GPT or generative pre-trained transformers. The layer above that introduces a relatively new technology called a vector database. And everything that is made available to an AI is in this vector database as an embedding. So documents, org knowledge, CRM records, spreadsheets, ERP, anything that you would want the AI to interact with or use within its answers, we use a vector database. This tier in the middle here, orchestration. So this is where we're moving data around. Transactionally, we can pull some data from a CRM system. And here's where we have event chaining, plugins, and prompt engineering. So we're constructing system context and feeding messages into it and getting results. And if you just stop there, that is actually a sufficient enough solution to do a completions application. The two tiers above it are when we get into chat. So this new style of AI introduces a dialogue layer. This is where there is conversation history, memory management. This layer understands the intent of the end user and takes actions based on that intent, and also facilitates semantic search against that vector database. And finally, user experience when interacting with AI, certainly out of current channels, mobile, desktop, email, SMS going forward. That also applies to VR, AR, any sort of interaction. I've learned from giving this presentation a few times that it's best to talk about security early on and not just throw in a quick slide at the end. Security absolutely is very important, and there is a lot of outdated information or misinformation out there. And believe it or not, as an IT professional, you do have a security problem today. So, for example, of what users may be doing today is they're largely cut and pasting data into ChatGPT. An example of this might be a worker that wants to write an introduction email to a lead. The path of least resistance for them is simply just to copy all this information, go to ChatGPT, paste it in, say write an intro email to the following lead. And there you go, GPT spits out an email. There's no plugins, there's no integration, it's really just a simple cut and paste kind of use of GPT. Or for accounts, for example, if we have a Salesforce account and I want to generate a summary. So just through quick kind of cut and paste, I can go into ChatGPT and say, write a summary of the following account and translate to, let's say, Hindi. And ChatGPT turns around very quickly, writes a summary. You can even have it write a summary in just 100 words. There's a number of ways people are using ChatGPT. So what is the fix? How do you fix it? It's very simple. You bring GPT into Salesforce. So here on the page layout on the right hand side, there's a lightning component, and you can ask it to write an intro email for this lead, and it will write it. It's the same API, except it's vastly more secure. Same thing with account. I can have it summarize this account. I could have this translate it to Hindi. Actually, translate to Italian. Any language, any level of summarization. So why is this more secure? Well, let's take a look at how OpenAI works. OpenAI has a consumer-facing ChatGPT interface, and it has a business user API. They are completely firewalled. They might go through the same moderation safety controls, the reinforcement learning, you get the benefits of thousands of humans looking at this, and the large language model. The big difference, however, is a ChatGPT conversation can be reused to train the large language model, whereas in an API context, it cannot. So the system prompts are completely discarded, and they are not reused in training at all. The actual software, OpenAI, is hosted on Azure and Microsoft. Again, a very enterprise business-centric company. They are continually communicating and over-communicating. OpenAI software, when managed within their data centers and context, none of the data is shared, and it is completely ready and secure for enterprise applications. I would recommend, if you want to learn more about security, go to the Trust portal. Go to trust.openai.com, and here you can download their GDPR compliance, their SOC 2. You can see other companies are using it, Stripe, Morgan Stanley. Integrations, reports, network diagrams, and really dig into this. Particularly if you're planning on a career in AI, the interview process takes security very seriously. an AI engineer can make anywhere between 500,000 plus a year in Silicon Valley, and you need to go in educated to any sort of AI career. You need to understand the platforms you're using, and you need to be able to answer questions professionally and know in this portal which resources to go to get answers to questions. I would also recommend you enter into a DPA for your org, a data protection, data privacy agreement. We have entered into such an agreement between OpenAI and Pacific Apps, our company. We can make this document. It's public. It's in our GitHub repo for this Flow GPT. And you can also just interact through File GPT. You can ask these documents questions if you're uncertain. So, for example, what obligations of Pacific Apps are in this agreement? So this is our own DPA between Pacific Apps and OpenAI. And lawyers love this. They can craft these questions all day. They can get the outputs they desire. So we have 22 plus obligations here as Pacific Apps, as stewards of the data. We are actually, on that previous diagram that I showed, we are the dialogue layer, and Salesforce Flows would be the orchestration layer. People also understandably have questions about where does my data go? Or does OpenAI use customer data to train their AI models? Again, using File GPT, you can simply ask the model, upload the EULA end user license agreement and post a question. OpenAI does not use customer data sent via the API. I'll make a quick note about misinformation, or at least outdated information. This policy went into effect on March 31st, 2023. At the time of this recording, this policy has been in effect for only about 3 or 4 months. So this is a very new direction. A lot of partners, such as ourselves, have really worked hard and directly with OpenAI to say, hey, this is what we need to partner with you and to grow and to make this secure. And they have responded in spades, as you can see from their trust portal. Finally, I will also note that the internet has just reached a point of diminishing returns. It is a battle to make the internet more secure. There are still attachments in files. We're training employees on how to do diligence. There are configuration settings. There are all kinds of systems. If you work in Salesforce and you've ever looked at metadata, this is an example of a security.settings file. Now, as a consultant, you might come into a Salesforce org and what are the first 10 things you're looking for? They might be security settings. Has it been hardened, or is it a fairly loose kind of environment? What you can do now with GPT is craft a prompt. So in this case, I've uploaded security.settings to File GPT. And I've pre-crafted a prompt that basically says, here's a security settings document, identify any potential security issues, risks, or concerns, suggest changes to make the org more secure. And as a consultant or systems integrator or administrator, this is a very handy tool. You can create a prompt per metadata file. And this thing will come back with a lot of good advice on how to make the org more secure. The password is 8 characters. It's recommending you could increase it. So the bottom line, the point here is that we need AI to be more secure. This is metadata analysis, code review, PII detection, and when used correctly, we will start to achieve that last mile of internet security. Image processing, while we're on the topic of File GPT, one last kind of quick demonstration here. Mark Good, organizer of the GPT Dreaming, great website, all the sessions. I just took a screenshot, and you can see here it's a PNG document. It's a file within Salesforce. And using the multimodal capabilities of iDialog and GPT, I'm able to interact with it. It's parsed out the text. It knows the text that's within the document. And once we can get it into a text form, then GPT can do continued transformations. I could say, convert the times to Eastern, translate to Spanish. And so the transformational capabilities of GPT, once it gets a baseline of text and it understands the semantics of that text, it can run with it. So here it's translated all the times to Eastern, translated the language to Spanish. Okay, so GPT completions, this is basically the hello world of GPT. This is one input and one output. So if you ask a GPT processor or a language model, write a poem about dogs, it'll say, sure thing, here's a poem about dogs. And so here would be an example. Let's choose a Salesforce case. And there is a language translation. So we'll take hello world, and let's translate this to Latin. We get some Latin. And let's translate the Latin to Hindi. Okay, so we get into extended ASCII symbolic characters here. Now let's translate this Hindi into kanji. Okay, we get back some kanji. So this telephone wire game, you might remember as a kid, you just keep passing along a sentence and you see what comes out the other side. And usually it gets garbled along the way, but we've just gone full circle through 3 or 4 languages, and we ultimately come back to English, and correctly is preserved hello world. So GPT's symbolic representation, its understanding of languages is simply amazing. It's within our lifetime, it's just one of the most amazing features and capabilities. So even though it's a one in, one out type of thing, there is a lot you can do with a completion. And we'll get into a few of those here. Once you kind of master the building blocks of one input, one output, the next step is you'll necessarily want to get into orchestration. Many of these completions in series. And when GPT 3 started getting some traction, one of the most popular open source projects that emerged was LangChain. And it's a great environment, particularly for document management, where you have multiple steps. You're uploading, you're extracting, you're chunking into different size windows, creating embeddings for the vectors, and you need some automation. Another open source company that's come along, GripTape, its founders, a rich history in Salesforce development. Now it's working through AWS. So Microsoft Flow, when we started looking for a platform, we looked at all of these honestly. Should we host the orchestration? Should we use something cloud-based? And we focused really hard on trying to make this work with Salesforce Flow Builder. And with Flow GPT, we get the benefits of record triggered platform events. So if we go back to, let's open up one of these flows on orchestration. And each one of these blue boxes is doing a transformation. So initially we're doing a summary. So we have a system prompt, we have a user message as the input, and then on the output we're capturing a response. So we're going to get a summary. Then we're going to translate that summary into another language, in this case Spanish. Then we're going to open up a PDF or a frequently asked questions document, and we're going to feed that as an input. And we're going to ask GPT, hey, given given this FAQ and this user's particular case, support case issue, what is the best resolution? And on the output of that, we're going to get a suggested resolution response. And finally, if there are any comments, we are going to exercise what is called sentiment analysis. So we're going to, as an input, we're going to provide GPT with all of the case comments, and we're going to ask it, we're going to say, is this positive, neutral, or negative? And then on the output, we're going to store that in a variable. And so really the greatest value of FlowGPT is not only managing the orchestration of these, but we can also debug it. And so in this case, this trigger will execute with any change here. So that just ran 4 different transformations in about 3 seconds. And on the right hand side, I can see all the inputs and outputs. I have an input, here's the case, here's some details. I have an output, the output says here's a summary. Scroll down a little more, we have an input, here's the summary. We ask it to translate it to Spanish, we get an output, then we get Espanol as an output. We go into our support FAQ. So this is native. We don't have to copy the entire document into the text. We just give it a reference to the content version ID. And we just say, given this document, here's the customer's issue, find the best match. And it comes back and says, the recommended oil type for the Gen Wet generator is, and yep, that looks correct. Then finally, in sentiment analysis, we have an input. We've given it from a web to case form. It looks like this customer communicated, hey, this is frustrating. I'm not sure if the instructions on page 2 refer to the oil. And we asked GPT, hey, classify this customer sentiment, positive, negative, or neutral, and it comes back correctly as negative. Customer sounds like they're kind of frustrated with this. So that is the orchestration, and I'll pull up that support FAQ here, so you can see that you can create a rather intelligent chatbot or an AI just with an FAQ. In fact, this is also a form of prompt engineering called few shot prompt engineering, which is you're actually creating a fictional dialogue. This is what a customer may say, and this is what we as an organization would prefer. This is the answer. And so chatbots love FAQs. Any sort of multi-shot, if you give it a lot of questions and answers, it will emulate this as a script for its own chats. So all of this ran in the background on a case trigger. I go to the page layout, and if I'm just looking at this for the first time, the support rep has a summary, there's a translation, there's a suggested resolution, and there's sentiment analysis. So before diving into this and asking questions or going to the FAQ, this AI bot works 24/7, and this looks like something I would go ahead and email back or give to a customer. Which is a good segue into what if we just shared a link to this case with a chatbot. If I go back to our case here, you notice there's a customer portal, and we've this flow has automatically added the contact to the portal or the room. And so now the customer receives a link to the room, and the bot has said, okay, here's what you reported as an issue, here's the description, here is a suggested solution, and we've seeded the bot with give it some personality. Hello, does this meet your needs? Let me know how can I assist. Customer can chat with them. Yes, this looks good, but I may have one more question about gasoline while I have you here. You know, to the degree you want to use an avatar or something more realistic, that's up to you. Of course, go ahead and ask your question. What type of gasoline should I use? And again, it's going into the FAQ of the document, and one of the questions was about gasoline, and the answer was you should use fresh unleaded gasoline with a minimum 87 octane. Or maybe the customer just wants to know, please remind me what product did I purchase, make and model. And we've grounded this chatbot with the, it knows its products and entitlements, whether or not the customer is able to return the product. This also works in a sales context. So if I go over to an opportunity in quoting, a little bit more complex. You get questions like approval rules, and there could be any number of reasons. Maybe the discount exceeds 15% or a bundle is missing. In this case, we just ask kind of we pre-build a suggested prompt. Does this quote require approval? And the bot just went through thousands of lines of source code. Now again, we qualify source code as being like one of these PDF documents. In fact, let me go ahead and open the flow for this particular quote bot. So it's telling me it needs approval. I can ask, what additional products are required. It's going to refer to its knowledge, and there's some bundling and upsell rules within that document. It says, based on the current quote, the following additional products are required. You need some form of installation, GenWatt propane product to qualify for the 15% on SLA. We can do things like, write a 100-word intro email to the primary contact. Subject, solution for your needs. Hello, Mr. Young. Hope this finds you well, etc., etc. We can do the same thing, but we can also ask it to include a markdown formatted table of the quote product items. I'm not giving it any guidance for the columns or anything, so it's just going to guess, but I could pre-build a prompt to actually do. That's pretty good. Product code, description, sales price, total price. So that's actually very good. So how does this work here? So this is where we get into prompt engineering. We've talked about prompts very abstractly as being just big blobs of text. Prompt engineering, however, is we're starting with a template, which is the system prompt. And again, business analysts probably have 80% of the skills to do this today. The benefit with AI going forward is what the business analyst writes is almost a drop-in replacement for a lot of these rules. So in engineering, we want to set up subfolders. We want to structure a project. So here we've structured quote rules, discount rules, all into different variables. And we have some dynamically injected variables for the customer account. We're going to insert the actual quote. We're going to insert all the line items. We're going to insert the customer. Then we're actually going to include a price book. This is for upsell and cross-sell, and we're going to specify the quote bot. These products are not included on the quote, but they're for reference only. and sales methodology. And like any engineering type of project, you can actually delegate these different templates to different people. The sales methodology may be written by the VP of sales, or it might be written by a consultant that you bring in, or it could be something that you purchase off of an AI app store. In this case, we're injecting the NEAT NEAT system into the chatbot. Another person might be responsible for the product rules and bundling, or finance might actually produce the discount rules. And the great thing about using Salesforce flows is these are version controlled, they are packaged, and you can deploy them from a sandbox to production. You have layers and layers of DevOps, and you can build proper structured engineering processes around this. So we've talked about the customer-facing bots, prompt engineering, Apex GPT. I love Apex. Apex is this Java-like language built into Salesforce. And I think Apex will continue to be extremely relevant, particularly in batch, high volume orgs, large implementations. And you might want to write a batch that enriches or does a summary on 1 million accounts. And you couldn't sit there and click on 1 million accounts in a screen flow. So what we've done with our library is they're all global. All of the actions are global, and you can interact with them through Apex. So in this case, we're going to create a request. So we have a new API completion request. There is a system prompt or system message. Act as a language translator. Convert the following to Latin. The user message is hello world. Then we're going to invoke the completion action from Apex. We're going to get the response, and we're going to dump that out. So I'll go ahead and execute and run that now. And over here in my logs, on the debug, our request was hello world. Our response was Salve Mundi. So Apex developers, don't worry, we got you. This is strongly encouraged to use Apex, and also as plugins to flow and orchestration. You can write very dynamic AI GPT transforms simply by registering your Apex action with the flow. Also notice there's no API credentials, there's no setup. All of the security happens through the initial installation. The conversational layer and the API takes care of the credentials. I did want to make a note on some of these chat threads. So we do have support for transcripts, and you're going to want to utilize these transcripts in the AI lifecycle, or what we call dialogues. So if I were to retrieve a chat transcript and open it, the BA and Flow Developer has defined the rules, and here actually we see it in an expanded form where all the templates have been replaced with actual values, actual customer account values. Now again, you have full control if there's any sort of PII concerns or a need to do data masking. You have line item control about what goes into a prompt. Now obviously, the more you can provide a prompt, the more that can go into vectorization, the more intelligent the AI. It's just a one-to-one correlation between data quality and AI quality. And all of this is grounded and initialized in each and every interaction. So it's personalized to the record and optionally to the user and customer. And then we get into the actual chat thread. Does this quote require approval? Yes. What additional products are required? Write a 100-word intro email. So all of this is available here. And developing GPT apps is very conducive to an agile methodology. I personally use Extreme Programming, or XP, which is you start out with very high level definition and alignment. What is it you want to accomplish? You write some assertions against that, you build it, you deploy it. In this case, I recommend chatting with models, even though it might be asynchronous and running in the background. Setting up the scaffolding to chat with it will give you real-time feedback. Let that run a few days, review and glean insights, such as through transcripts. We're looking for, is the AI aligned with our expectations? And or you might be just noticing that sales reps are always typing the same thing, like write an intro email, or summarize this account, or generate a quote. And you can surface those, you can glean some insights, making those as one-click pre-built prompts so that they don't have to continually type them over and over. Users can also type their own prompts and click on this favorite icon and save their own prompts. And if you've stuck with me this far, thank you very much. We're only 1 or 2 slides away. I just want to talk quickly about our roadmap. So obviously building AI is fun. Hopefully you're excited by seeing this. It's really easy to get into the hello world, the completions. You could be doing this today. Some of these chatbots, I think, we're able to build them in less than 1 day. The templates are pretty well stable that we provide in our Flow GPT open source. You get an idea of grounding. We give all that away so you can get an idea of a quick start. But on our roadmap, we're going to continue to pre-build these bots and get into industry solutions. We're working on one for healthcare that can both internal health facing and also patient facing. And so these dialogues, while there are humans on each end of it, there are also AI assistants facilitating those dialogues and supporting them along the way. And the store also includes documents are still very, very important to what we do. In fact, we see AI as serving a lot of the document-based conversations. In the room templates, these are all kind of bundled in a whole solution. So for next steps, I highly recommend checking out Mark Good's GPT training, AIForcetraining.com. He can go into far more depth than what I've covered here. He has a spectacular 3-day course, and he's also can guide you in that transition from ChatGPT to Flow. And on our website, a lot of information there, www.idialogue.app. Happy to get you started on a free trial. We do training more along the lines of conversational AI, more of the BA experience, writing up requirements and prompt engineering. And thanks to a grant from Microsoft and Azure, we're able to offer these starter dev orgs. So thank you very much for your time. And please do contact me at any time, Mike at idialogue.app. Thank you very much.